It's so good to be in a room full of fellow moms. And I'll let you know that one of the things that I love most about being a mom, one of the many things, it happens to be one of the things that I also love least about being a mom. And that's what motherhood has revealed to me and continues to reveal to me about myself. How many of you have learned so much about yourself since becoming a mom? Every day, right? The good, the not so good, the scary, the surprising. I have had one of these more recent discoveries of a surprising thing about myself that I never would have thought would be the case as a mom. See, growing up, I played sports my entire life. I played multiple sports all in my little years. I played quite competitively in high school, and then I even went away on the East Coast to play softball in college. So my life, that's all I knew was sports. So if you would have asked me like 15 years ago, Chelsea, what kind of sports mom do you think you'll be? I probably would have been like an intense one, like I'm probably going to be the team mom, the coach. I'll be really loud on the sidelines. I might even convert our backyard to, some batting cages, just like that typical sports mom. That's who I thought I would be. But fast forward to today, and if you find me at my kids' games, which you will, because I love them and I support them, but if you ask me what the score is or what's going on, 99.9% of the time, I do not know. I have no idea. If you ask me what inning it is, I'll be like, I thought we played quarters in this sport. It's like, you would just think that I didn't play sports. And so I've been kind of surprised by that as a mom. And I've thought about this, and in no interview that I've had throughout the years has an employer gone, you used to be a slugger, huh? You're hired. That never worked in my favor, nor have any friends come up to me and confronted me and said, you didn't tell me you struck out like 40 times your freshman year at college. I don't want to be your friend anymore. No one knows. No one cares because it doesn't really matter. I know that when I went huffing and puffing up on this stage this morning, you didn't look at me and my legs and go, I could tell she used to be really fast when she was young, wasn't she? I want to befriend her. You didn't say that. You know why? You know how I know you didn't say that? Because you didn't think it, because it takes me like 3 minutes to get up after playing magnet tiles with my son. You didn't look at me and go, she looks like she's got speed. None of it matters. The wins, the losses, the championships, the accolades, none of it is lasting. None of it truly matters. But what is lasting is the character that God built through all that. He used sports in my life as a means to help build character. And so I find myself at my children's games paying far more attention to how they respond to whether or not they win or lose or make that shot than whether or not they actually win or lose. Because I know I have this hindsight perspective that sports is just a means to help mold their character, because character is what's lasting. It's what matters. It's a really, really big deal when you think about it. I mean, it's in essence what defines us as people. You ask your friend, what kind of character does that gal have? And tells you more or less all you need to know about them. And so we sit here as moms and we contemplate our role and our responsibility. I want us to recognize today that what we do, and frankly what we don't do, what we neglect to instill good character into our kids today, it's going to directly impact who they become in the future. And we know that who they become in the future is going to impact what type of mom they are, or husband they are, or employee they are, or teammate they are, or classmate they are, or neighbor they are. Fill in the blank. Our character bleeds into every single aspect of our lives. And so we've got to recognize what a big deal it is. I love what Kathy Cook says. She said, character it's that inner stuff that he or she is made of. It's the inner reality in which thoughts, speech, decisions, behavior, and relationships are rooted. It's a really big deal. So this might feel weighty, because it is. It's a really big and it's a big weighty responsibility. But ladies, we get the privilege of being the primary molders and shapers of these little humans that God has entrusted to us. And I know that none of us want to forfeit these days where they are in our homes and we are their primary example. And so with that said, I think foundationally the most impactful thing that we can do as moms to instill good character into our kids is to be a good example of it. So write it down that way for point number 1 is be a good example. be a good example to your kids. Now, I like to assume that in a room like this, navigating motherhood, when you have taken it upon yourself to proactively learn how to be a better mom and a better wife and a better friend, like you are fired up about being a good example to your kids. It's indicative of you being here. And I guess I could have given you some practicals of ways that you could be a good example, or maybe built a case as to why it's so important, but I don't really think that's the challenge. I think if we're being honest, and we are honest here, it's just not always that easy to be a good example with all these sweet little humans in our lives. Being a mom is a blessing, but it can be really hard. Some of you are physically here, but mentally you're sleeping. You have not slept in days, and you may not sleep for the foreseeable future. Some of you have very fussy children right now who are teething, just needy, colicky, you name it. That makes it really hard to keep your cool together, does it not? Picky eaters, who loves making a homemade meal and then your kids don't want to eat it? That's the notoriously missing left shoe. Ladies, I never knew that would be so testing for me. There's always that missing shoe. We have so many challenges against us as moms every day that can make it hard, but maybe it's not even the everyday challenges of being a mom. Maybe it's just the hardships of life that can make it really hard for you right now. Maybe you're going through some marital issues that are causing a lot of stress and tension in your home. That can make it hard to be a good example. Maybe you're enduring through some financial difficulties, or you, yourself, or someone you really love are going through some major health issues. That can make it really hard to be a good example. You're just not in your right frame of mind throughout the day. Because it's easy, ladies, to be a good example when things are going easy, when things are going well. But that's not the reality of life, is it? There's going to be hard moments. But this is the thing that I want you to realize. These are opportunities for us. These are opportunities for us to show kids what true character looks like in hard moments, because we know it's the hard moments that are our best chance to show our kids what real character looks like. And frankly, this is when it's going to make the biggest impression, don't you think? Your child spills that milk on the table. Who do they look at? They look at mom. How is she going to respond? How much trouble am I in? Right? It's these, even the little moments to the bigger, harder moments, we've got a captive audience, and we want to leverage that. I will not forget, this was decades ago now, when I came home from school and my parents came home for work, and the majority of our downstairs was flooded. Like flooded. Like we had to renovate all of our downstairs. And it took a little while to diagnose what happened. I forgot to turn off my parents' master bathroom sink, and it ran the whole day. And you could imagine that I was very fearful of what the consequence was going to be, but I will never forget my parents' reaction to it and the grace and understanding that they showed me. And as a parent, I can only fathom how inconvenient that was, probably expensive that was, but their response to me left a lasting impression that I will not forget. And we have a choice. Think about it. In every moment, whether your child's nagging you or you find out about something hard, we have a choice. God has enabled us to respond one of two ways. We can be a good example, or we can be a bad example, and either one we choose are going to leave a lasting impression on our kids. We're going to be an example either of what bad character looks like or an example of what good character looks like. And so we've got to work proactively to be that good example. But, big but, not my but, we're going to fall short. We are going to fall short. It is inevitably going to happen, right? We're not perfect, but even in those moments when we inevitably fall short, we can show our children the characteristic of showing humility, of going to our kids when we lose our temper or raise our voice, or when they see us snap at our husbands, going to them and asking for their forgiveness. I am sorry that I lost my temper this morning on the way to Navmo when I was stressed out of my mind getting out of the house on time. Will you please forgive me? Mommy was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. How big is it for our kids to learn from us what it looks like to confess and own up to our own mistakes and ask for forgiveness for them? what a great lasting impression that is. Because I know the pressures of being a mom. I'm one of them. And I know that there are a lot of people that are around me and on social media that portray themselves to be all this perfect. But newsflash, they're not. And neither are you. And it's good for us just to know that, right? We're not perfect, but I'll tell you who is. God is perfect, and we have a perfect example in his character. God, he is holy. Holy means that he is flawless. He's without any blemish. I mean, he literally is incapable of doing anything wrong in word, in deed, anything. And his holiness isn't something that he proactively tries to work on. It's just who he is. It is who he is. And so we can look to him every day as the example of what good character looks like. But he knows too. He knows we're not perfect, far more than you know you're not perfect. But it says in 1 Peter 1:15 through 16, but as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct. Since it is written, you shall be holy, for I am holy. So God knows we're not perfect, but yet he calls us to pursue holiness, and he has given us his example in how to do that. And so in the thick of those really hard moments, whatever they might be, whether your child is being challenging, whether you're having marital issues and it's causing you to respond a certain way to your child, you just found out some bad news, whatever it is, we can stop in that moment and say, how would God want me to respond to this? How can I respond in a way that honors the Lord? What would he want me to do? What would he want me to do? Because I know as moms, more than anything, we want to redeem these hard moments to show kids what godly character is, and that it's not just when life is easy and fun and full of peaceful and pleasant days. Our truest character comes out when life is hard and when life is messy. And so we've got to look up in those moments, not around, but up, and strive to do things God's way. And so God calls us to pursue holiness, and so I want us to do a little exercise right now, so get those phalanges moving. Mine are kind of cold. So get them moving, and I want you to write down with your pen or your pencil, I don't know, I have to clarify what you write down with, write down, what do I need to show my child more of? What do I need to show my child more of? What is something that you want to exemplify to your children more of that you know you are struggling with? I will not give you any examples. I will let you ponder that on your own. And then after that, right, what do I need to show my child less of or no more of? What do you see your children maybe observing from you that you just don't want them to anymore? And if you're not writing anything down, write humility. Or phone your husband, he'll let you know what you can work on. But truly, ladies, be vulnerable. This is the point. This is the gift of NAMO. You are surrounded by ladies who are all in the same season of life. Everyone's struggling. Your leaders are there to help you and give you perspective. They're to help you, give you scripture to memorize, accountability. Please be honest. Be honest. It is only going to benefit you as a mom. I know all of you are in this together and want to see each other gain success in whatever areas you find yourself struggling in right now. Because I know that when someone says, hey, your daughter, she's so much like you, like, I don't want to cringe. I don't want to be like, what do you mean? Is that good? I kind of was hoping she was more like her dad. I want to confidently be like, oh, thank you. What a compliment. Don't we want to exemplify the type of character that we hope our sons might find in a wife or look for in a wife? Or to exemplify the type of character that we really genuinely hope our daughters pursue as wives and, Lord willing, as moms one day? Isn't that something to strive for? Because we know our children are watching us intently. And you know how I know children watch us intently? Because when you think they're not looking and you go to the bathroom for 30 seconds, they find you. You find their chubby little fingers underneath the door, and you're like, how'd you know I even walked away? And they're like, I'm always watching you. They're always watching us super intently, and so we need to make sure we are striving to be the best example to them. Because there are so many things that we are constantly working on, right? I mean, we're working tirelessly to perfect that bread or to figure out meal planning or to get more organized. We're doing that. We're all doing that. I'm doing that too. But let's never forget the importance of investing and working on our character, just as God calls us to be more like His. What a beautiful way to honor our children, our husband, and of course, most importantly, God. Speaking of things that we spend a lot of time on, for those of you that have potty trained, even if you haven't, you know you're going to have to in the future. Newsflash, you have to potty train your kid. I guarantee that you are investing a lot of time preparing for it. When you did it, you wiped that schedule clean, no pun intended. You asked your friends to be praying for you. You probably bought some type of system that promises they'll pee in 3 days. Like you went great lengths to prepare to potty train your kids, right? Let's stop, though, and evaluate how much time are we strategizing on how to train our child's character day in and day out. What are you doing to instill good character into your kids? We need to be as fervent, as intentional with instilling good character into our children as we are with anything else that we do. And so let's write it down that way. For point number 2 is consistently train your kids. Consistently train your kids, your children, your blessings. Now, when I say train, you might be thinking about like, I don't want to have to train my child to be grateful. I just want them to be grateful, right? I want it to be authentic. I don't have to tell them to say thank you. I want them just to genuinely be grateful. And I totally get that. I'm on board. I want my child to grow up and be genuinely grateful too. I mean, even the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So that is our aim. But let's play out what might happen if we don't train our child to be grateful or respectful or hardworking or whatever characteristic we're striving for them to be. Let's just assume, little Billy, he's 2. He doesn't like to share because he's 2, but he'll grow out of it. 3-year-olds love to share. 5-year-olds love to share. By the time he's 10, he'll be fine, right? My kid, he talks back to me now and to his teachers, but he's going to grow out of it. It's fine. It's just a season. It's fine. Take a breather. Do you guys know any ungrateful adults? Yeah? You guys are shaking your heads. Yes. Do you guys know any disrespectful or entitled teenagers? Oh, those e-bikers. I'm just kidding. I shouldn't have said that. Not all of them. Do you guys know any complaining or stingy elderly people? You guys, it's not just something that we grow out of. The reality is they need our constant correcting and directing and training if we want to instill these good habits, these good characteristics, and to weed out all of those bad ones. Because in the same way that they can't learn the ABCs if we don't teach them the ABCs, is the same way that they won't be able to learn to be respectful and to be hardworking if we don't show them how to do it. And side note, but we need to be the ones to train our children, because if we don't, we leave it to all the other influences around them to do it for us. They will be influenced by what they watch, who they watch, and so we want to make sure that we are the primary ones who are training our children. And so as a fellow mom to 4 younger children, I thought long and hard about, practically speaking, what can we do to instill good character into our kids? Like, I just don't want someone to tell me what to do. And so second to praying, I think one of the most impactful things that we can do in these little years where their character is really being molded is to help them establish good habits. And so write that down for your first point, is to establish good habits. Because if we don't help them establish good habits, it's a lot harder for our children to become grateful when we've allowed them all this time to have an attitude of entitlement, right? That's something that's hard to break, and some adults are still trying to break that today. It's harder for them to learn how to work hard when we've just allowed them to be lazy. It's a lot harder for them to learn how to be respectful when they've gotten away with being disrespectful. And so, think about the habits from your upbringing, right? Some of you are probably still trying to break some poor habits, but I bet you have a lot of really good characteristics that come from the habits that your parents ingrained in you. Two stand out for me, for my parents, many more, but I'll just stick with the two for now. I'm just kidding. All the bad habits I don't even want to mention. But the two that stick out that I'm so grateful for is my dad was always adamant that I was on time. He told me that being on time is being 15 minutes early. And that is so much harder with our schedule and 4 young children. But I gotta be honest, I am most prone to being anxious when I'm running late somewhere. And so I oftentimes will be early, and if I'm too early, then I sit in my car and I wait till I am on time. And so what started as just a habit has kind of then become something that is part of my inner stuff. Because being on time is how we show people respect, right? We respect their time. Another one that my parents were really big on is being respectful. And I told you I was an athlete. So many coaches, so many referees and umpires to make bad calls, but my dad, it didn't matter how bad the call was, you respect your authority. And I'm so grateful that he nailed that into me, and it has totally become part of my inner stuff to this day, and I'm so grateful for that. What started as just a habit has become a part of my character. So grab your ponchos or your nursing covers or your umbrellas if you thought it was going to rain, because I'm going to get you hosed down with a whole bunch of practical ideas of what we can do. So the first one is to make eye contact. Teach your children to make eye contact. Such a profound way for your children to learn how to respect people by teaching them how to look in the eyes of adults, of their friends, of you. Do you guys know any adults who don't make good eye contact? And you're like, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, like eyes up here. Teach your children how to make eye contact, and moms, don't get mad, but it's really hard for your child to make eye contact when their head is in a phone or a tablet. So if they're using one, or you go to a restaurant, or you're, checking out at the grocery store, make sure that they look up at the adult and look them in the eye. Right? That is a huge way that we can teach our children to show respect. Teach them to hold the door open. Chivalry's not lost. Open the door for people. I was so encouraged by my 5-year-old the other day. I was walking a bit behind him, and we were going into the gym, and he had opened the door for a lady without me even prompting him, and I was like, thank you, Lord. Just the consistency. It's not that he gets it perfect every time, but I saw fruit from the consistency of teaching him to open doors for people. It's a huge way to show people respect. Teach them not to interrupt. Another great way to show people respect, that they are self-aware of the other people involved in the conversation. Many of you might already do this, but teach them to take their hand and put it on your hand or on your lap. You put your hand on their hand to communicate to them, Mommy knows you're there, I see you, I'll be with you when I can. If it's an emergency and they're dancing and they're gonna pee in their pants, teach them to say, I'm sorry for interrupting, I've gotta go to the bathroom, but work on this, role play with them all the time. It is a huge way to establish in their little hearts the self-awareness of other people, and that they're not always the most important people in the room. We want them to be others focused, because think about it, when you're teaching your children how to be respectful, it's not just respect. Respectful people are usually more compassionate. They're usually more kind. They're usually generally more others focused. So by these little things that we can teach our kids go such a long way in ingraining and building true lasting character. So put them in those positions to interact with people. Again, grocery stores, when you go out to eat, your neighbors. Have them look at the cashier and say thank you. That's another thing that you need to teach your child how to do. It's a way to establish the habit of gratitude, is teach them to say thank you. And you're probably thinking, duh, who doesn't teach their kid to say thank you? That's just manners, that's obvious. I know a lot of people that don't say thank you, but I love what author Emily Post said. She said, manners are a sensitive awareness of the feelings of others. If you have that awareness, you have good manners no matter what fork you use. So manners go a really long way and are usually pretty indicative of your heart being grateful, your consideration of others, right? When we don't say thank you, doesn't it often portray some entitlement? If food just always plops on the table and no one says thankful for it, they just expect it. Someone gives you a gift, you don't say thankful for it, you just felt entitled to it. Teach your child to say thank you. We always want to make sure that we are focusing on the why we are teaching these very basic things. Teach your child to say thank you to the KBC teachers who sacrificed their time and sanity to watch your beautiful children this morning. If they don't talk, thank you. This is thank you in sign language. Get them in the habit of saying thank you, because it allows them to stop and recognize the people who served them. Say thank you. Teach them to thank their coaches who volunteered their time. In our house, you always have to thank the chef, whoever made the meal. The meal didn't show up. The food just didn't plop in, the refrigerator. Teach them to say thank you. Teach them to write cards. Again, we want, even if they just nurse all the time, they don't write yet, like you get in the habit of writing cards, because then that's inevitably going to become a habit within your kids. If they can't write yet, you trace out the lines and have them draw or whatever it is. Just get them in the act of realizing, okay, someone gave me something. I'm sure many of you have been blessed in some way this week. Someone made you a meal or brought you something or did something nice. Teach your kids that we're going to write a thank you note to that person. Help them establish good habits of work ethic. Chores, you guys know that there are endless charts online of age-appropriate chores. There is no age too young to start those. Even your 10-month-old knows how to pick up a sock and throw it. I know they know how to throw it. Have them throw it into the laundry basket or throw it into the washer. My little son is 2. When we turn on the washer, he knows that to start it is the circle, to turn it on is the circle, and to start it is the triangle. And so there is just no age too young to start with these basic chores. Help them get dressed on their own. Let them get dressed on their own. And again, this is going to require a little bit more work and patience and time on your end, but try as much as you can to allot for it. My son has these sandals that are Velcro, and it's so cute because every time he tries to open it to take them off, the Velcro flops back down and re-Velcros. And so it's quite testing for him, but it's so good for him to see and try to do something that is hard. And so I've got to make sure I allot that time for him to be able to do that. And so with that said, don't always remove the struggle from your kids. There's a lot of things that are going to be hard for them, especially in these little years, but don't always remove the struggles. Is that generally what happens in life? No. Teach them don't always remove the struggles, because you want to teach them to do hard things by allowing them to do hard things. And I don't mean that if their foot is stuck in the trampoline, just be like, you got it, Billy. or if your newborn baby can't latch, just be like, she'll figure it out. That's kind of weird, I know, I'm just kidding. But my point is, as much as you can, give them opportunities to do hard things, because even in Romans 5:4 says that endurance produces character, and that is what we're aiming for with our kids. And the next step point in how we can consistently train our kids is to leverage teaching opportunities. Leverage teaching opportunities. So when your child watches a show or a movie, or they are at the park and they're observing other kids and the way they interact, whatever the circumstance or platform might be, leverage those opportunities to point out good character and to point out poor character. If they're watching a show and you see that a child is being very disrespectful to their parents, you're going to want to point that out. And frankly, moms, if they're watching shows where they're repeatedly being disrespectful to their parents, don't let them watch those shows. This is what we are instilling into our children, and we want to be attentive with what they are fueling themselves with. And you guys learned a lot about this last session, but teach your child at a young age to discern good friendships. And right now in these younger years, you have a lot of control over that. And it's not that, all of our children are learning. It's great to have intentional play dates where they're both learning how to share. But just you want to let them know at a young age that you become a lot like who you hang around most, right? Just like you, moms. So teach them the importance of when they're at school or wherever they might be, to try to spend most of their time with people that are going to lead them in the right direction and be a good influence. And so I know none of these are hard and they might sound obvious, but I think as moms to littles, sometimes we need that reminder of how important the most obvious things are and the lasting impact that they can have on our kids. But you can see, right, just by these examples, that there are endless opportunities for us to be consistently training our children's character daily. And so we want to establish those good habits, read about it, talk about it, and we also want to celebrate it and make it a really big deal. And that is our last subpoint, is celebrate good character. Celebrate good character. So we talked quite a bit just now about the importance of instilling good character into our kids, which we've got to do. But equally as important is that we celebrate when they do it, that we highlight when they do it, when they show kindness, when they put others before themselves, when they pick up the sock without you seeing or knowing you saw. You've got to make a big deal out of that, because in our homes, we want to communicate to them the importance of good character, and they're not going to know it's important if we never highlight when they do it. Kids feed off our energy and our excitement, right? And so I think that's an opportunity for me to mention that if we're going to celebrate good character, we've got to make sure that we are also disciplining the poor character. They've got to see both sides of it. These are good things that I should do. These are God-honoring things to do. And these things I know I should not do any more of. And so you need to establish a system in which you're celebrating good character and you are making sure you're attentive and addressing the poor character. And so as you celebrate good character into your home, there's a couple of things that I think are worth noting. And the first one is to highlight the character and not the action, because God cares about our heart more than he cares about the action. This one is huge. The Bible says in 1 Samuel 16:7, man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. God cares about the heart. And so this reminds us, as we are focusing on the character and not the action, this reminds us and our kids that who they're becoming is far more important than what they're achieving, isn't it? I think about, if your kids play soccer or do some type of extracurricular activity, you want to highlight the character behind what they achieved. If your son makes a goal at his soccer game, you're going to be excited about the goal, but you want to celebrate his hard work, his hard work out there, because he could work really hard and go out there and not make any goals. He could stink, but you still want to highlight, I'm so proud of you for working so hard. We don't want our kids to think that our outcome is always indicative of what we did beforehand, what's in our control. We want to point out what is in our kids' control, like their attitude, right? Their attitude on the field, their compassion, their consideration of others, their kindness. Those are things that are in their control. Because your, daughter might play a sport or love art, but she's not good at it. But she's so kind to the girl next to her who wanted purple, and so she shared her purple. That's something that's noteworthy and that you want to take notice of and encouraging her to keep doing. Point out the things in your children that will last, the lasting things. And so heart over action. The other thing we can do is to be specific in our praises. Be specific in our praises. For example, teaching your child how to make their bed, and they make their bed, and yes, their bed is made. I didn't do it. Instead of saying, good job making your bed, you can say, I'm so proud of you for being responsible and doing your chores. I'm so proud of you for being responsible, because that's really what's worth celebrating. Or when your child opens the door for someone, when you see that, instead of saying, good job opening the door for someone, say, I'm so proud of you for considering others before yourself and opening that door. Such a minor shift, but it communicates a whole different message to our kids about why we do what we do. And so those are really two important things. And the other thing practically that we can do that's a little bit more of a visual thing for our kids, because we know they're visual, we're visual, they want to see progress, we want to see progress, is to implement some type of chart or encouragement system. Again, online, you can Google or Pinterest or whatever, a million different type of systems that you are celebrating and rewarding them for their character. We use a penny system in our house where all of my kids have jars, and then there's a jar full of pennies. And for certain things for certain things that they do, they get pennies in their jar. They're not allowed to ask for them. If they say, Mom, did you see me pick up that sock or share? They don't get the penny. It's not about being seen, because I remind them all the time, even if I didn't see it, God sees it. And so you are not allowed to come to me, otherwise you forfeit the penny. But they earn the pennies, and it's a great way for them to go over there and know that they were recognized for something they did. And on the contrary, if they do something bad, sometimes there's different punishments, but sometimes it's just like, hey, you didn't do what I asked you to do. Take out that penny, or whatever it might be. There's a system involved. And then there's a redemption chart, and they can pay mom and dad for whatever they establish, say 4 pennies for a Starburst or whatever you come up with. But it's just a fun way for these kids to have something tangibly to do to celebrate their character. But there's so many more options online. Pick a specific character trait and just go with it throughout that day. And I completely failed to mention about books, but this would be a great thing to do with your kids. I think some of you have this on the table, but these are just a few. There's many more at the bookstore, but these are some of our favorites. My kids are 10, 8, 5, and 2. We love all of them. And these just have little rhymes and then just how to apply it throughout the day. And the Bible is, of course, the best resource for learning about character, but this one's so great. The Character Bible, the Character Builder's Bible, it's so sweet. It has an account from in the Bible of certain characteristics and people, Bible characters. And my 10-year-old will look at this and then we'll read the actual account in the Bible. The next page gives you just a cute little rhyme. Obedience means to listen well to whatever mom and dad say. Whatever it is that they want me to do, I get it done right away. Whee! And then my brand new toy. How can we apply that into our life day to day? Celebrate that. Use this as an opportunity. Just make character a big deal in your home. Make sure you're communicating that message to them. And so I just mentioned my oldest son is 10. His name's Bryce. He's precious. He's 10. He's 10. He's 5 and 5. Text me if you want some tutoring. He sits in the front seat. He's just a big kid now. He's in 5th grade. And you guys, I was a NAVMO attendee when Bryce was 1. And I still to this day can remember so many things that I learned. I mean, when I first came here, I had very few mom friends. I'm not gonna cry. I had very few mom friends. I was still learning the ways of being a mom. I cannot go on enough about what this ministry has done for my life and for my family. But as I was thinking through and praying through this topic, character, I thought, God, I want nothing more than these moms to look back 9 years from now, a few months from now, and because of their diligence to instill good character by being a good example, by training their kids consistently, and just making a big deal out of it, that they can see lasting change in their child's character and in these kids' futures, and just be so pumped about how God is going to use these little precious souls in the future. So thank you so much for your time and have great discussions.